God bless you, saints. Welcome to the Time to Grow podcast. I am your most gracious and humble host, Trey. Today's episode is going to be a little different. Today, I want to talk to you about the unknown, not knowing what God is doing with your situation and in your circumstance. See, I've come to realize that God operates in two seasons within every believer's life. The first is in the unseen, or rather where God is hidden. The second is in revelation, or in the unveiling. In either way, you are in one of those two seasons at any point in your walk with him. The key is to identify which one you're in, and then you can engage with God more intimately and intently. So I won't spend too much time here, but I can give you an overview of both seasons for you to inspect yourselves. The area I want to focus in on is within the three layers that exist within both of those seasons, and we will get to that. So in the season where God is unseen or hidden, God is desiring for you to find him, to seek him out, and to search for him. This is where we feel for him in situations and in our circumstance. There tends to be a longing to engage more and know about him in this season. And it's in this season that revelation and mysteries can be comprehended, where you can be summoned up into revelation, where you can fully comprehend deep truths. It wasn't until Jesus ascended that the disciples then remembered his words, his parables, his prophecies that didn't make any sense when they were with him. When God seems less present in the physical, then one can search and understand the spiritual. Jesus had to leave in order for Holy Spirit to come. The physical presence was put off for the spiritual connection. So in the physical, there may seem to be an absence of God, a withdrawing of himself. Your perception of where he is in your circumstance is almost challenging. And it's in this season that doubt, fear, stress, anxiety, and performance, they all try to creep in. But Proverbs 25 verse 2, it is the glory of God to conceal a matter, and the glory of kings to search it out. In this specific season, your duty is to seek so that you might find. The other season, the season of unveiling or revelation or revealing, the glory of God is invading your every move. This is a season where deep truths and mysteries are not comprehended. Rather, you are encountering God and prioritizing his presence. The entire ministry of Jesus is what we would call a ministry of revelation. He was revealing the Father. He himself is the glory of God. This explains why his disciples could not receive the deep truths or the prophecies given at that time, as they were enjoying being in his presence. The Apostle John puts it this way, 1 John chapter 1 verse 1. What was from the beginning, what we have heard, what we have seen with our eyes, what we have looked at and touched with our hands concerning the word of life. The disciples were able to physically enjoy the presence of Jesus. In a sense, their spirit man was soaking in the glory of God. Nothing else mattered except the glory that was set before them. In this particular season, it's all about the glory of God. This is where God is encountering you and changing perspectives, changing mindsets, healing old, past wounds, heartbreaks, sick hearts, internal diagnosis that the world can only try to medicate. God himself is pouring into you. Your only duty is to receive. See, but in this season, frustration can become prominent, especially when you fight against his desire of wanting intimacy with you. This is where prayer comes naturally, where worship no longer has a time limit, where you recognize your faults compared to the goodness of God. His presence will do that. Look at Isaiah chapter 6 verse 5. Then said I, woe to me, for I am ruined, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I am dwelling among a people of unclean lips. For my eyes have seen the King, Adonai Zvaot. Isaiah immediately realizes not only his sin, but the sin of his people. Let's take a look at Ezekiel chapter 1 verse 28. Like the appearance of the rainbow in the cloud on a rainy day, so was the appearance of the radiance. It was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of Adonai. I saw it, fell upon my face and heard the voice of the one who was speaking. The prophet Ezekiel prostrates before the glory of God. This is submission and true reverence. The glory of God is accessed with ease in this season. Graham Cook, he talks more in depth about these two seasons, right? But these two seasons are what I have also recognized that us believers walk in for the remainder of our time here on earth. But in both of these seasons exist these, what I call to be, 3 layers. The first layer, the where God is in your circumstance. The second layer, the why God has allowed your circumstance. And the core, or the third layer, the who God is for your circumstance. So let's go ahead and talk about the first layer. The where. Jeremiah chapter 29 verses 12 to 13. In those days when you pray, I will listen. If you look for me wholeheartedly, you will find me. Now, after recognizing one of the 2 seasons that you're in, your job is then to locate God. The word used for heart there in the Hebrew is libab, which means your mind, will, soul, and understanding. This should immediately remind you of what Moses commanded Israel to do. Deuteronomy chapter 6 verses 4 to 5. Listen, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone. And you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your strength. Now, Jesus also reaffirms this as the greatest commandment. There has to be a prioritizing of God that you choose to make. He must be involved in all your thoughts, critical thinking, decisions, actions, responses, even reactions. You must make him first in every sense. And in doing so, prayer becomes prominent and you become more aware of what Holy Spirit is doing and where he may be leading you. This is how you locate God. Now, let me share this with you. If you stay with me, this will truly bless you. Let's look at Genesis chapter 3, verses 17 to 18. Then to the man he said, because you listened to your wife's voice and ate of the tree which I commanded you, saying, you must not eat of it. Cursed is the ground because of you. With pain will you eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles will sprout for you. You will eat the plants of the field. So after Adam and Eve fell, some curses followed their decision to disobey God. A prominent one being that man would have to work and labor to produce, and the ground would fight us and yield for us thorns and thistles. So while we get vegetables and fruits, the ground also offers up all these different weeds, all these different thorn bushes, these thorns, these thistles that tend to either kill off the plants or that frustrate what we do plant. This meant the birth of frustration and burdening. But I want you to key in on the thorns that would sprout. So thorn bushes are a byproduct of Adam and Eve's disobedience. Now let's flash forward 1,000 years to the height of Israel's very first experience as a nation of burden and frustration. Exodus chapter 3 verses 1 to 2. Now Moses was tending the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian. So he led the flock to the farthest end of the wilderness, coming to the mountain of God, Oreb. Then the angel of Adonai appeared to him in a flame of fire from within a bush. So he looked and saw the bush burning with fire, yet it was not consumed. The Lord appears to Moses from a burning bush. You haven't caught it yet. Israel is going through intense burdening. For 400 years, they were slaves in a land full of people that despised them. It seemed as if God was nowhere to be found. And for 400 years, it was as if he was not even speaking. But then he appears to Moses in this burning bush. Let's look at the Hebrew word for bush in that specific verse. The Hebrew word used there is seneh. This word literally means a thorny bush. God appears in the midst of a bush. That is the very byproduct of man's disobedience. God was identifying his whereabouts. He was not far from Israel during this time. He was proclaiming he was in the midst of their burden and frustration. He was there with them. This psalm begins to become more understandable now. Psalm 34:18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. He rescues those whose spirits are crushed. The Lord is in the very midst of your circumstance, identifying with you, knowing your situation and even what you're feeling, right? What does the book of Hebrews chapter 4 verse 15 say? This high priest of ours understands our weaknesses, for he faced all of the same testings we do, yet he did not sin. Let's progress to the second layer, the why God has allowed your circumstance. Now, here's where emotions tend to get the better of us. And then we allow them to dictate or reason why we are where we are. I think the three major lines when it comes to this is either Satan is out to get me, my disobedience has caused this, or God is testing me. 9 times out of 10, the person stating this is absolutely wrong. Most times you go through something called process. Now, we need to eliminate this Job syndrome that America has developed. Though the enemy is real, Satan has not handpicked you to test your faith in God. In order for you to be correctly cultivated and molded, there has to be a process. Now, certainly, there are things that follow any act of disobedience. There's consequences. There are times where demonic warfare is directed and pivoted against you. And yes, witchcraft is certainly prevalent and very, very much real. But process is what's needed for your purpose. For many people, it looks different. I'm sure you wouldn't want to buy a car or get in a plane or go on a cruise ship that has not been inspected and tested. It's the same for your purpose. God is not going to put you in your purpose without process. This doesn't mean that man can't try to go ahead of God. Many do, and many have. They try to take on the calling before the allotted time, only to self-destruct or fall. But process is necessary. Now, this doesn't mean that process is 10 years or 6 years of serving and then you're ready. No, it comes by way of enduring, and God sets the allotted time, not man. The book of James chapter 1 verses 2-4. Consider it all joy, my brethren, when you encounter various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. And let endurance have its perfect work, so that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. The ultimate goal of process is to shape and sharpen your faith until the day that it is perfected when we are glorified. God will use all things for the good of those who love him. So the real statement isn't why is God allowing this? It should be, what is God expecting from me? When we allow this shifting in our mindset to happen, we now open the very realm of sacrifice. Romans chapter 12, verses 1-2. I urge you, therefore, brothers and sisters, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable to God, which is your spiritual service. Do not be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 15. For we are the aroma of Messiah to God. How is it that we smell like Jesus, the perfect sacrifice? Well, it's because we put on Christ by dying to ourselves daily, becoming a living sacrifice. Not our will be done, but God's will. Now, the third layer, and I'm moving fast, or the core layer, the who. Who is God for my circumstance? Matthew chapter 16, verses 13-15. When Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, who do people say that the Son of Man is? Well, they replied, some say John the Baptist, some say Elijah, and others say Jeremiah or one of the other prophets. Then he asked them, that's the key word there. Then he asked them. It wasn't a one person. Although one person spoke up, he asked them, who do you say I am? This is not a one-time confession of who Jesus is to you. You don't just say it at the point where you receive him in your heart. Rather, in every situation, in every setting, you will be internally required to answer that specific question. Who do you say that he is? Proverbs chapter 18, verse 21. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Your situation is impossible. Well, through Christ, all things are possible. Your situation is out of your control. our God, by the breath of his nostrils, separated the waters of the Red Sea. Who you proclaim God to be is exactly who he is in your situation. Your job is not to proclaim your situation to be a judge over God. And so many people finalize the outcome of something without giving it to God. Therefore, they give their situation preeminence or lordship over the outcome rather than just giving it to God. Now, I pray that this teaching blessed you and that you're able to utilize this new understanding throughout your life. It's not easy being a Christian, but the yoke that Jesus presents is. There is a burden to carry as a believer, but the burden that Jesus places on us is light. Now, if you have questions, or maybe you're in need of prayer, maybe you don't know who Jesus is and you want to know him and don't know where to start, or maybe you need to rededicate your life back to the very lover of your soul, and I would love to walk you through that process. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me on any of my available platforms. Thank you so much for tuning in, and God bless you.